Welcome all. You're all having a good week, enjoying the rain a little bit. Never hurts to have a little moisture. We're gonna return to our topic at hand, the Bardo explanation, the explanation of Bardo total. And last time we talked about this, we talked about the inner dissolution, which is at the point of death where the subtle energetic body starts to return to source, so to speak. So we'll get into what happens at that point after this. After that happens, the dissolution of the subtle body. We'll be talking about that tonight. But before we begin, as we typically do, we take a moment, clear our minds, settling our minds for 45, 50 minutes. So we become a very good vessel to be able to open up our body, speech, mind to the teachings of the Buddha. So we do that with the understanding and motivation that our Dharma practice is enhanced by these teachings, and we seek to use them to enhance and improve the lives of others. That we wish to alleviate suffering in other sentient beings just as much as we wish to alleviate that suffering in ourselves. So this altruistic motivation is the heart of the Bodhisattva path, and we fully embrace it as Mahayana practitioners. So with that motivation, we resolve to listen carefully to the teachings and contemplate the teachings during the week. Once we have developed some resolve and trust in what we have heard, try to put these teachings into effect in our lives to the best of our ability for the benefit of others and ourselves, that we all may attain perfect awakening. Okay, so the last lecture, as I said, we were talking about the inner dissolutions. So there are, again, 3 stages of the inner dissolutions where the subtle winds, which is the energy, retreats into the nadis or the channels. We have the Adavudi central channel and the side channels. And as this happens, also the various types of consciousness in our bodies represented by the drops or tiglis or big bindus also start to move towards a non-dual state. So once again, we talked about these in succession, the first being the inner dissolution of the white appearance, where the father drop moves down from the head, the red increase, where the mother drop ascends from the lower part of the body, and black attainment, where they merge at the heart. So once again, these are the stages that the energetic body goes through after the physical body ceases to function. So after the breath stops, the external breath stops, these winds of energy move inward into the central nadi, and the aspects of consciousness start to merge into the central channel and into the heart center. In other words, all that we were becomes united in one single experience, in one single state. And this is the state of the luminous Bardo of Dharmata. So this is the next Bardo state, the Bardo of Dharmata. This is what happens at the final point of black attainment. And at this point, our experience is one of simultaneous emptiness and clarity, that there is only a single experience and experiencer. There's no differentiation between the two. Experience and experiencer merge into one in the same. Clarity and emptiness become two sides of the same coin. So, and at this point, for people that have no meditative experience, or they aren't skilled in any aspect of meditation, typically what happens is they tend to black out. So they lose any sense of consciousness. Consciousness just kind of like goes into a blackout state, as though they were in a state of deepest sleep. Consciousness is regained then when we enter the Bardo of becoming, the next Bardo. But those with familiarity with the experience of clarity and emptiness, those who have an experience in meditation of recognizing that, will, to one degree or another, be able to somehow recognize this during the process of death to a certain degree, and be able to rest in this state of clarity and emptiness consciousness. And that is what is described as Tukdam. So this is a state of, if we can, recognize this natural state of being and awareness at the moment of death, at the time of death, we can rest in this state of meditative absorption, which is known as Tukdam, the luminous Bardo of the Dharmata. And this happens as the play of consciousness arises in many ways that seem very real, but again, are like a dream. And so these are, what happens is these are the manifestations of the various aspects of your own mind. So we begin to have, in a sense, a death dream. In the Bardo Total, this is called the state where we enter into the mandala of the 100 peaceful and wrathful deities. And so, and there are 58 peaceful deities and 42 wrathful deities. The specifics of how this will manifest really depends on the person, their own life experiences, and their own culture. So the Tibetans describe it this way because they have, culturally, they've understood this to be the experience at the end of death, because they work with these sorts of thought processes during your life. But it may be that the images that manifest, that this experience of clarity and emptiness that manifests, is more in keeping with what you know from your waking life. The most important thing to remember is that when you know you are in this experience, and it will seem very real, just like many times when we dream, it seems very real, then we recognize all this is just the play of the mind, and allow all of the things that occur in this state to self-liberate without being attracted to them and without being afraid of it. So that's very important, to not be drawn into it, not be averse to it or afraid of it. Whatever happens in this so-called death dream, we just allow it to arise as the natural play of our luminous awareness. And so this is what happens in this state of meditative absorption that they call Tukdam. And a practitioner may remain in this Tukdam state for some time. And this all depends on their own, again, their personal level of attainment in the meditative experience. And so this is another reason why, in terms of end-of-life affairs, it's important not to move the dead person immediately. Some practitioners might remain in this state for hours or days, and usually we look for signs that the person has entered into this state. So the traditional instruction is to leave the practitioner alone for 3 solar days. And this can vary according to the instructions left by the person who has died to their close Dharma friends. Tukdam, although it sounds interesting and weird and like it would be a very rare thing that only might happen to high lamas, it actually happens more than people think. So it's important to be aware that this can happen at the point of death. It's not that rare an occurrence. Usually you can tell and estimate the amount of time by meditation days. And so a meditation day is 5 times the length of time someone can stay in a meditative state, undistracted. So if you can rest your mind undistracted in meditation for 5 minutes, one meditation day is about 25 minutes. Oftentimes we'll notice that the heart center of the person that is in a meditative state remains warm while their limbs and the rest of their body cools off. At the end of the period of Tukdam, either the practitioner will end it, or due to some outside occurrence like the body is jostled or moved, the consciousness will then leave the body. The karmic winds will reignite and the process will move forward. The consciousness then typically leaves the body through one of the 9 portals. So if the red bindu continues its ascent upwards, then you might see blood leaving the nostrils. The white bindu continues its descent downward, and we can see clear discharge from the urethra. And the separation of these bindus allows for the karmic winds to release at the heart, and then the heart center will become cold at that point. So when the heart becomes cooled off, usually that means the consciousness has then entered the body. And the death process, both the process of the outer physical body dying and then the inner subtle energetic body has finished, has concluded, and either complete awakening has occurred or the transition to the Bardo of becoming is about to take place. And so this is at this point, then usually in Tibet, that's when they try to move the body and finish the burial rites. So next time we will pick up and we'll start to talk about the state of the 49 days after the death process has concluded, which is this 49 days where the next existence is then determined in this, we call the Bardo of becoming. Okay? So, but for tonight, let's finish up by reciting the refuges and the sharing of merits.